There's no better way to welcome our troops home than to build them a place in which they can bestow the title upon. That's exactly the mission of Homes for Our Troops. They're a publicly funded 501c3 nonprofit organization which builds and donates specially adapted and custom homes nationwide to severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Tom Landrohr is a retired brigadier general, and he also happens to hold the title of president and CEO of Homes for Our Troops. He joined me this week to discuss the important work of his organization and how we can all get involved to pay tribute to our troops to ensure that they all have a place to call home. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. So, Brigadier General, if you're ready, I'll welcome you to the program, and I'm excited to learn all about Homes for Our Troops this afternoon. So great to see you, and thank you so much for being here.
Sounds great, Kevin. Thanks again for having us.
So, Tom, I know that Homes for Our Troops is a nonprofit charity that builds homes for post 9/11 veterans to help the sort of rebuild and restart their lives. So, could you tell me all about the great work you do at Homes for Your Troops?
Sure. Thanks. That's a great question. We've been around since 2004. Started in Taunton, Massachusetts by a general contractor watching some of the severely injured troops coming back from the war when it started in Iraq in 2003. And he thought that he could do something, build a home that had some adaptations in it that would make it easy or easier on the veteran when they came back. So he visited a few of the hospitals and then ended up visiting a National Guard soldier near Taunton in Middleborough, Mass. And the soldier, Army Sergeant Pete Damon, when the guy told him what he'd like to do, he said, "No, thanks. I don't want to do that." And so our founder went back and then went back to him again, talked to his mom. And Pete said, "Okay, I tell you what, I'll accept it on one condition." He said, "Name it." He said, "That I'm not the last, that you keep building them." And so we were started in 2004. Pete's home was started in 2005. Since then, we've built and donated 312 homes across 42 states in the United States. We've got 63 projects currently ongoing, from finding land to just about to give them their keys. We've got more than 100 veterans in the application process of our program. And in speaking with the VA, they still estimate there's more than 1,000 more veterans on top of all those other numbers I gave you that are severely injured enough to qualify. So we deal primarily with the most severely injured, and that means loss of limbs, loss of use of limbs, severe burns, paralysis, TBI, etc. And these guys, the United States hasn't had a draft since 1973. So we're a 100% volunteer force in our military, and all these guys and gals in our program raised their right hand and volunteered to serve. And then they went down range, and in blink of an eye, their lives and their families' lives changed forever. And after some of them have come back and had multiple years recovery and rehab in hospitals before they eventually go home. But once they go home, they find out that the homes that they left aren't completely safe and are not fully accessible. to them as they're moving around nowadays, a lot of them in wheelchairs and things. And they also have, they have to rely on others to do a lot of those daily things that many of us that are not in a wheelchair or not handicapped like that, take for granted. And so what they've actually done is sacrifice their freedom and independence for us. And that's what our homes are built for. Those 40 plus special adaptations in our homes are to restore some of that freedom and independence and reduce some of the burden and stress on the spouse, caregiver, and the family member. And after moving into our homes, actually more than 90% of our veterans report that they have regained some or much of their freedom and independence. And over 95 of our veterans after moving into our homes say that the household stress level has been reduced.
Well, that must, as the president of the organization, that must make you feel proud. And I'm also curious to know, I know that you yourself had a decorated military career. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on the sense of personal satisfaction you received by leading the organization.
Oh, it is personally gratifying. Of the 60 plus employees that we have, I think we got 5 military retirees. We've got a few others in our force up there that have served, and then we've also got some others like military spouses that are in our organization. But do these kinds of things for these troops and their families. It's really not anything different than we were taught as young leaders. I was served for 30 plus years in the Army. So when I was a young second lieutenant, I was taught the number one thing you do is take care of your troops. You take care of your troops and they'll take care of you. And so this is just kind of an extension of my career. I've been lucky enough to get into a couple of nonprofits that have done things for troops and their families, and we continue to do it. And it is extremely humbling to be alongside these guys and gals, do these things for them, put them in a home, and then just watch the things that they do afterwards. It is amazing.
Absolutely. And I know for the organization that you stand out because after you build a home, you continue the relationship to make sure that all aspects of the lives are rebuilt or started off on the right foot. So can you tell me about sustaining a long-term relationships with the veterans that you serve?
Oh, you bet, Kevin. That's a great question, and it's one of the things that's really unique to Homes for Our Troops, in that we do stay in contact with our veterans after we give them the keys. We don't just increase that number of homes that we built and go back to life. We stay in contact with them, and we got a few ways we do that. One is through a 5-person group organization inside of our staff called Veteran Support, and their job is to maintain contact with all of our veterans. And it's kind of threefold as to why. First is we've promised these guys and gals a quality home. If they've got issues, all they got to do is reach out to us, and we're going to stand by it. We'll come back in and fix things if we need to. We also, with those 40 plus special adaptations, we're wanting to receive feedback on those adaptations, make sure we got it right. Because as I mentioned, those 60 plus that we've got in Taunton, Massachusetts, none of us are in a wheelchair. None of us are missing any limbs or been burned or anything like that. We don't have any of those challenges that our vets do. So we need to hear from them what, if anything, is wrong or what we missed with the adaptations, because we're constantly adjusting, tweaking our home plans, and we're constantly improving them as we go. And then last and most importantly for us is rebuilding lives. That's the most important thing that we do. It's what our homes enable. And we know that they're going to do some great things, like I was mentioning, and we want to be there to celebrate with them. But these guys and gals, their injuries they've sustained, they will be rehabbing and recovering for the rest of their lives. And so their family will be affected with it for the rest of their lives as well. And we know that sometimes they're going to have some challenges. They're going to run up against a roadblock or a wall or a speed bump or something, and we want to be there to help them out. So we maintain contact and liaison with a ton of veteran support organizations and other nonprofits, and depending on the challenge that the vet or the family has, we can link them up with the right organization to help them out. So that's one of the ways we do it. The second way is what's called the Veteran Action and Advisory Team. So that's really a peer mentoring group. So it's made up of current and future home recipients. And again, they're there to mentor the veterans, maintain contact, because the five of us that are retirees and any of us in the organization that have military background can talk to these veterans, veteran to veteran, but we can't talk to them severely injured veteran to severely injured veteran. But the peer mentoring group, the Veteran Action Advisory Team, can talk to them that way, and they do. And they also provide feedback to the organization, not just individual specific feedback, but also general, how the vet population is doing. They can relay to us any challenges that they're having with the VA and stuff like that. And the head of our VAT is also a member of our national board, and he sits on there and he gets a vote. So he's a voting member of the national board, and he can bring issues direct to them. And the last way we maintain contact with them is we've actually got a by invite veteran and family Facebook page. And that's just to the veterans that we support, and a couple of the staff are the only ones that have access to it. And they will get on there and ask each other questions from, they may be having a problem with the VA and say, has anybody else had this problem? And if so, how did you solve it? And they get into it that way and back and forth. Or they can also ask questions of, hey, you know, what color cabinets did you get? What color was the flooring? Because we're looking at ordering ours and we want to see how everybody else is done. So those three ways we maintain contact with our veterans. And like I say, it's very, very unique to our organization.
And I know that building a community of support is very important. So I commend you on the work that you do as well in that respect. And I'm also curious to know, despite the injuries that your veterans have sustained, many of them go on to live fully productive lives and get college diplomas, degrees, or even begin starting their own new family. So can you tell me about the sense or source of inspiration that you get in that respect and helping people sort of restart their lives back into civilian life once they return?
Absolutely. Now, it's a great point too, because, you know, people don't want to have to rely on other people to do things. We're really fiercely independent. And these guys and gals had their life's work interrupted. And none of them, I can tell you, in all the ones that we support, none of them are looking backwards. They're all looking forward at what they can do with their lives, what they can do with their families, starting and growing families, etc. So I would just tell you, our homes are what enable that. Because if you don't have a mortgage, one of our speakers recently described getting a home without a mortgage, and one that lessens the burden on the family and stuff while freeing up the veteran, is that it basically gives them added hours back in a day. So they have other things that they can do. Education wise, before moving into our homes, only 15% of our veterans either have a degree, are pursuing one, or trade certification. After moving into our homes, that goes up to 71%. The spouses and caregivers, I mentioned it affects them as well. Only 14% of them have a degree, pursuing one. After moving into our homes, that goes up to 80%. Once you got some education, then what's the next target out there for you? Employment. The employment rate of our veterans after moving into our home doubles. The employment rate of our spouses, caregivers after moving into our homes almost triples. So those are some tremendous impacts that we've got. We also know that going into our homes, only 57% of our veterans are married. After moving into our homes, it's 78%. And since 2010, 209 babies have been born to the veterans in our homes. So we know they're getting on with their lives and rebuilding them. And the last thing I tell you is, again, with this time, you know, returning time to the veterans and family, only 17% of our veterans before moving into our homes get out and volunteer in their local community. But after moving into our homes, that goes up to 74%. So almost 3/4 of our veterans are out helping out in their community. And those are all impacts that we're really, really proud of.
And Tom, my final question for you is, I know that 65% of your operating budget comes from either individual donations, private or family foundations, or fundraisers. So how can anyone wanting this get involved with your organization?
Yeah, that's a great one too. You've really looked into us, haven't you, Kevin?
I like to be prepared.
You're a good man. So the best way they can get involved with us is to go to our website. That's the number one way, www.hfotusa.org. Go to our website. There's actually a tab at the top of the website titled Get Involved. You click on that and it'll just drop down and fill the page with all the different ways that people can get involved. From donating, fundraising, running with our team HFOT that does runs around the country, actually around the world now. We were supposed to do one in Berlin, a Berlin Marathon this year that got canceled due to COVID, but we got it rescheduled for 2021. Also, putting us into their estate or their will. We've got programs for real estate professionals, for mortgage professionals. You can donate your car, motorcycle, boat, etc. We even have a monthly giving program that we call Operation Lasting Support. So those are a lot of ways that you can get involved with us. Both myself and our executive director, a good military buddy of mine by the name of Bill Ivey, anytime we go out and travel, people are always saying, hey, how can we get involved? How can we help? And both of us tell everybody three main ways. The first thing that they can do it is look on our website at our building map, and it'll show you all across the country where we're building. If you see a place on there that's near to you, then we ask that the people in that community reach out to those veterans and welcome them to their community. Because these veterans, another thing unique to the organization is they told us where they wanted to live. And then we went out and found land, bounced it off of them, made sure that was the place, found a custom home builder in the area, and then built them a home from the ground up. But we want the community to wrap their arms around this veteran and their family and welcome them. The second thing that people can do is help us with awareness. So we're a grassroots awareness organization. Since our inception, almost 90 cents of every dollar has gone to our one program. So we don't pay a lot for advertising. So I would ask anybody that, sees this podcast, listens to it, goes to our website, checks us out, and then tell other people, whether it be friends, family, coworkers, folks that go to church with you, whatever. Tell them about the organization that you bumped into. Tell them what we do, but most importantly, tell them who we do it for, and that'll really help our awareness. And then the last thing is, if people have the capacity to do it, donating, fundraising, that kind of thing, you also volunteer at our different events.
Well, Tom, I want to thank you for your time this afternoon. Hopefully, this conversation today will inspire people to take action again. I want to thank you for your service to the country and for joining me this afternoon. It was most appreciated. I enjoyed our conversation and want to thank you for your time and wish you a happy Thanksgiving as well.
Thanks very much, Kevin. Same to you. Although I know being up in Canada, you guys have already celebrated Thanksgiving a little bit earlier. But God bless you for having us.
Our Thanksgiving is actually the first Monday of October, but I actually have, my father's originally from America, so I do Thanksgiving twice a year, so I get turkey twice a year. So.
Hey, you can't beat that.
I never turn down turkey. Absolutely. And Tom, I want to thank you for all the great work you do and for joining me this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
Thanks very much, Kevin. You stay safe. All right, pal?
Thanks so much.